The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Some combinations are just classics. Hot dogs at a baseball game, hot cocoa on a snowy day, peanut butter and jelly. How about mixed class sports car racing and Road Atlanta? Even though this car and track combo fits like a glove, it won't necessarily be easy to win. And we'll see who can come away on top in the final race of the season as we get ready to watch round 12 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, this circuit always seems to put on great racing, which I'm sure is why it gets used in so many series here on iRacing. What is it about this place that produces such good on-track action?
Joe, we started today in Monza, and then we've made a quick trip across the Atlantic Ocean to get here into the South, the deep South. Brazelton, Georgia here, located on 750 acres. This 2.54-mile circuit, 12 turns, opened in 1970. Now, perhaps it's probably best known for being the home of the Petit Le Mans endurance race that was first held here in 1998. I like this area because I always get a chance to stop by Gladys Knight's Chicken and Waffles down there in downtown Atlanta. But if you really want to take a look at a track that provides a lot of excitement, and yes, we all know it well, let's get a better idea of what it's like to get around here and jump on board the GSRC Kamel GT and take a lap around the roller coaster that is Road Atlanta.
All right, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Coming down to turn 1, there's a fair bit of braking here, so passes can be possible, but going through too wide will cost you both a lot of time. Out of the corner, you don't necessarily want to track out completely so that you can set up better for turn 3. It can be a bit difficult to bring the car fully off to the left, and watch out not to get a cut course penalty. Feather the throttle through turn 4 so that you can get a better run into the S's, but you'll still need a big lift as you plunge into this valley. Be sure to get the car set up to brake in a straight line for turn 5. It'll be easy to upset the car on the binders, and then despite the 4-wheel drive, you can lose traction up and over the crest due to the bumps and the curve. Finally, you get a short rest before turn 6. Once again, the temptation to brake late will be great, but if you're not tucked in neatly to the apex, even the banking won't keep you from understeering. You'll get a little squirt of the gas before 7, but ideally you want to line up the car so that it's easy to get to the power on the exit. With it leading the car onto the long backstretch, every little bit of momentum counts. Along here, it's all about straightening out the weaving circuit and focusing on nailing your shifts. But if anyone gets a run on you, they're likely to attempt to pass into one of the most popular overtaking spots, the chicane. While the normal racing line is to the right, it is possible to successfully defend from either side if you can keep your speed through this left-right. Watch your wheel spin coming off of there, and then same thing under the bridge. Give a little lift to keep traction. One more big lift through the final turn, and then hopefully you've finished a lap around Road Atlanta. As you can see, laps are going to rifle off relatively quickly. Even in the Audi, only about a minute 20 some to get around here. Now, Sean, we have a large field out here today. It's the final round of the season. I guess they picked a good track to end it on, as it's a very popular one. But with all these cars around, is there going to be any opportunity to make passes without traffic getting involved in this?
Good question, Joe. Look for them in turn 1, maybe, turn 6, possibly in the chicane 10A and 10B. Now listen, I know we've done a lot of races here, and that's where we see the action is heading up straight down the hill into 10A. I think you'll see a fair amount of passing attempts made there, including the Nissans getting past the Audis. Look for them to do it out of turn 7. All the way up to back straight. Listen, coming down the hill through the S's, not the place you want to fight for position, Joe. Don't do it. It never, ever works out well. You know where it never really works out, and we see guys get into trouble also, is at the end of the S's, down at the bottom of the hill. Turn 5, that left-hander, especially tough on any car that goes through there.
We've seen so many drivers over the years lose it through that crested hill as we see Jungbluth complete his qualifying lap. The lap's ticking off very quickly. Ihamaki leads the pole for the Nissans currently with, it looks like, Mikko Ruskola with the fastest Audi this first time around. But I agree, so many places to lose it here. To me, honestly, Sean, the most distinctive corner around here has to be turn 3. It's just so blind, so difficult to get right, and I can't think of any other track that has a corner close to being like it.
And you know what? I watch a lot of lap guides to get prepared for these races. I watch different lap guides from different drivers. All of them universally say they have a really hard time defining a marker there getting up the hill because it is just so blind. One that I watched says, well, look between the trees. That's where you should look between the trees. If you're in one of these Nissans or one of these Audis, you're traveling at such a rate of speed coming up that hill that you don't have time to look through the trees. You're just figuring out where the heck do I get on the brakes here and start to make my turn in down the hill. It's absolutely crazy. It's so easy to get caught out up there. Now, the good thing is there's a little bit of a runoff area there to the left, but it's going to cost you time, going to give you a slowdown penalty, and you have a lot of traffic coming through there. You've got to be very, very careful. Definitely a great place for disaster. Turn that first trip through when we drop the green is going to be very challenging today.
Just saw Ryan McPhail get himself into 8th recently. He's on his second lap right now to try and improve. Keith Ritchie is yet to complete his first lap, and actually I think he's going to do it right now. This is a driver we should probably watch. Has been dominating this season. We expect him to have pace here as well as he brings the Porsche up and over the hill. What's his first lap going to be? Michael Houghton has overtaken Ihamaki for the pole, but will it be short-lived as he comes across the line?
Oof.
Indeed it is.
And not by a little, by a bunch.
By about 2/10, it looks like that he has toppled him on his second lap, it looks like. I thought that was his first lap. I guess his first one did not come in and count. Up at the top of the Audis, it is still Ruskola, although we've got Trangarade. Nope, he's completed his 2 laps, so the best he's going to do is 4th in that class. De Jong's coming around for his second one.
And watch this. This could be a flyer for De Jong.
This is his last chance to improve. He's 5th, and he goes up to 4th.
Oof. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Absolutely. Now, where Strodbeck and Hagner were 2 of them that I was wanting to watch. It looks like they are starting 2nd and 3rd currently. And I believe we almost have everybody finished qualifying at this point. David Browning just finished his 2nd lap and is unable to improve from 14th in his class.
Yeah, it looks like Christopher and John Keefe still out on their laps, Joe, in the Nissans.
In fact, I think they're the only 2 left that are able to complete their qualifying here of both classes, both of these cars and the Nissans. There we see Stouffer from Indiana coming across, and he doesn't set a lap, actually. And if you're familiar with our races here on the Global Sim Racing channel, you might recognize Stouffer from the Lionheart series.
Yeah, Chris dipping his toes into the Kamel GT today, so we wish him well.
Did not see him set a time on that first one. John Keefe is coming around to try and get a time on the board as he goes under the bridge, plunges down the hill. A lot easier on these Nissans than it is in the Audi. And as he crosses the line, does he get a time in? Yes, he does, but it is only 14th, and he's only going to count that lap. That should be everyone. So with that, let's go through your grid. On the pole, Keith Ritchie, as we expected, put in a good time. The only driver to get under the 109 mark. Michael Houghton starting 2nd. Great grid position for Houghton. Ardo Ihamaki gets toppled down to 3rd after momentarily holding the pole, and Fabian Jungbluth starting in 4th. In 5th, Rob Olenek is in the inside of row 3. Then on the outside of him, it'll be Clayton McLeod. Murtol Shaheen starts in 7th, with John Hill in 8th. Marco Kika will start the race in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 will be Ryan McPhail. Michael Kopak just outside of that in 11th. today with Dave Peterson in 12th. Then in P13, Alberto Tejada. Behind him, it'll be John Keefe in 14th. And the last of our Nissans to set a lap time is Martin Krajcik in 15th.
All right, Joe, let's run down this huge GTO field today. Mikko Riscola, your pole sitter. Joni Hagner in second. And then be followed there by Brian Strodbeck, starting third today, with Michel de Jong starting fourth. Ove Trengerade is back, starting in fifth. George Gruber starts sixth. Andrew Backey seventh. Ben Laughter eighth. Andy Purrs ninth. Brian Shanahan 10th. Ross Goodacre in 11th. Chris Barnes 12th. Hideki Koivisto 13th. David Browning 14th. Matthias Jensen 15th. And completing the 16-car field, Oscar Helm, who was with us earlier in the Lotus 49 race today.
Jumping over to a very different car. Not super different since the Audi lacks downforce similar to the 49, but a lot more grip with that four-wheel drive. We also saw Christopher, Jeffrey Oakley, and Robert Mushan rounding out our Nissan field. They will start in front of the Audis unless they elect to start from pit lane. And they will be able to start with their class. You can see we'll have the roof pace car take us around for one pace lap. Then we go racing for the final 30 minutes here in this season of the iRacing Kamel GT Series. There's the front of our Audi field there that we got a glance of, which is going to be interesting since if they put a gap in there, Sean, I expect they'll be starting right out of that last chicane.
Yeah, probably so, Joe. And we've seen them here all season actually give a pretty good gap when they get started. So we should get underway. I'm thinking we talk about how quick it is around this circuit. How quickly will the Nissans get to the Audis? I see already the guys are speculating here that probably about 3 times the Audi field will have to deal with those Nissans coming through over this 30-minute race, Joe. And that is going to be fun to watch. Drivers already begging, please do not try and overtake us down in the S's. So, it's going to be a trick here today, especially with as big a field as we've got. And if anybody gets into trouble here off the start, the Nissans will probably find that traffic a lot quicker here back in the Audi field.
I can tell you from my time working on that lap guide in the Audi that, yes, the S's are very much single file. You can barely squeak through there flat out after a big lift up at the top of the hill. And we're coming into that section right now, down into the valley with the Nissans. There's our Audis coming over turn 3, treacherous turn 3. That will no doubt see a few cars maybe get a cut course penalty or swing wide as they unfortunately miss the apex under braking. Sean, do you have any predictions as far as who looks good today? Because it's certainly going to be a crapshoot as far as traffic, making things very interesting out there.
Boy, it's Keith Ritchie's got a lot of time invested at this track, Joe. He's done a lot of setup work. He's done lap guides for people. I think it's going to be really hard to beat him here. He just seems to be really in tune with this track. I go back to the GTO field, and it's good to see Brian Strodbeck back in the field today. He likes this type of competition, but man, Joni Hagner's sure going to be hard to beat. I look for one of those two to probably take it away, unless Ruscola and the Danger Kitty machine can do something pretty amazing here.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that. That's definitely still one of my favorite paint schemes out there as we come down the long backstretch. Sean, does the draft offer anything on this backstretch in the Nissans?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is a great opportunity. I think one of your only really good opportunities to set anybody up for a good fast pass. The Nissan cuts enough of a hole here that you're able to get some advantage. You'll see them scrambling down the hill here and into turns 10 and 10A. I'm sorry, 10A and 10B, however you want to label that.
Yeah, I just call it the chicane. But in the meantime, Roof Pace Car has peeled off. Keith Ritchie wastes no time, gets immediately on the gas and streaks ahead of Michael Houghton, who takes a peek to the inside down into turn 1. Gonna have to go back to a replay later as McPhail had problems on the front stretch. Meanwhile, Audi's already into it.
Yeah, we got problems at the back of the Audi field as well, Joe. Jeez.
Martin Krajcik slow as well. I wonder if he was involved in McPhail on that front stretch incident. All right, we're going to watch the replay, see if we can figure out what went down here. As they come off that final corner. Looks like cars just kind of drifted into one another. Ooh, and the 3-wide situation for McPhail did not work. A little farther back there, you can see the Audis as well swinging to that inside. And that is Andrew Backey, one of our major players typically, taking a tumble.
Laughter just got a run on Backey and gets into the back of him there, unfortunately, and that's how it all erupted. You catch Backey here on the end of that. That's
you can see just a sitting duck, couldn't go anywhere. So we come back, live change for second position as Iamaki overtakes Houghton down into turn 1, and those two, as they are fighting, they're losing ground quickly on Richie. Only 1.5 laps in, and he's nearly 2 seconds ahead.
And Joe, Joni Hagner already taken away that spot from Miko Ruscola. Hagner up to first here at the completion of lap 1. Here comes Brian Strodbeck here at the top of the hill, all over Ruscola right now.
A trio of heavyweights up at the front of the Audis. We've been wondering when we'd see Strodbeck in this car to race again. We know he's been having some trouble with his pedals, but he's not wasting any time trying to hassle for the lead here in the GTO field.
Strodbeck got to work out a move here and get around Ruscola. Got to not let Hagner get away.
Right now, just about half a second between Ruscola and Hagner, and less than that between Strodbeck and Ruscola as they come down to the chicane. As we mentioned, one of the popular overtaking spots here on the circuit. Strodbeck takes a peek but comes back to the line. He's not anywhere near close enough. However, Ruscola closes in significantly on Hagner through that sequence of corners, and they come to complete another lap. Meanwhile, Marco Kika has had some issues as he goes off in turn 3. On the replay, looks like the brakes just locked up on the rears, maybe? Rear end of that car just swings out, and there was no chance to save it as that left-hand concrete barrier is very close to the track, and he's had to take a tow, unfortunately, here in the early stages of this 30-minute race. Meanwhile, we jump back up to our leader in the GTP, Keith Ritchie. Hasn't been able to run away from Iamaki quite yet. It's back down to 1.6. Now the question is, when are they going to be catching the tail of the GTOs?
Still a bit to go here. The GTOs now getting out of the chicane. It won't be long, Joe. Actually, you're right. Ove Trengrade setting up a move here, though, down the straight. They're at the top of the hill, coming down now. Oh, Ove's off the track. He's in the grass.
Trying to save it. Wow, somehow manages to miss the concrete on the inside. Ooh. And also missed by Gruber, who goes back by. He backs up, trying to get himself turned around. Let's go on board. If ever there was a moment to panic, Sean.
Talk about a roller coaster ride. He's going drifting on through. He's holding it there and then on board with Gruber. Gruber just misses him. Wow.
That familiar voice in Trangerade's ear. It looks like you cut the course. Gonna have to slow down. He does continue on, but well down the order, having tried to back up and pull back forward to get himself going. You can see sitting in 10th currently.
It's a shame. Ove was really starting to make up some ground there, and all for naught now. Michelle De Jong, though, not George. Michelle's driving. You're Joe. I'm Sean. Michelle really, really digging now. He's honestly started to reel in the battle up front, the top 3.
I think Hideki Koivisto may have had a problem, or no, he's actually just going quite slow. He's already being lapped by our Nissan field. I was just checking in with our leader to see whether or not he was going to be catching our Audis, and indeed, he's coming up to Oscar Helm at the moment down the backstretch.
Yeah, Hideki off to a rough start. Has already had to come into the pit. Obviously, not all that damage repaired.
You can see the difference in braking and perfectly threads the needle. This is why Keith Ritchie wins races, just knowing exactly where to put the car, and gets by Matthias Jensen as well. The car chasing him, Ihimaki, having a little bit harder time going down through the final corner, has to slow up, and that costs him. So not a lot of action happening other than lapping traffic up here at the top of the Nissans, but at the top of the Audis, it is extremely close, less than a half a second between each of the top three.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really good battle. These three cars can keep it in the gray here till the finish, Joe. We're in for a good one, because now I think Strodbeck just sitting back there kind of just biding his time, waiting for that really good opportunity or one of them to make a mistake. I don't know if he was joking or not, but Miko Ruscola had said before the race got started, he was just here for safety ratings. Well, messing with these two dudes is not a good way to protect your safety rating.
I suspect that was a little bit of joking on his part, but the Danger Kitty car is on the prowl. He's not letting Hagner go, even though he does have to worry about Strodbeck behind him. But so far, we haven't seen Strodbeck really make a serious attempt.
Got to run at him there. Brian had to back out of it.
You can see just how negligible it is trying to weave through these S's. And then the four-wheel drive helping a little bit up over the crest where the car gets light. But look at the launch that Hagner got. Meanwhile, Youngbluth is stopped on track, and it looks like coming out of turn one, did he lose it on his own? Oh, he was trying to go inside of some Audis. We'll see here. Just a little bit offline, Sean, and wow, everybody did a good job to avoid him.
Wow. Ardo Himaki really digging right now there, Joe. As we go back live, it cost him bad down in 7. He tried to overtake Andy Purrs, almost got into the back of Purrs, and then he overshot 6 and had trouble getting out of 7. Now he finally clears Purrs coming down the hill. Purrs just trying to hang on to 8th place right now.
Well, the good news for Ihimaki is even though he is losing time on Ritchie, he's already 2 seconds ahead of Houghton. Houghton is not threatening at the moment, so at least Ardo can worry about what's ahead rather than what's behind. We're now already a third of the way through this race.
And I take that back. I said poor Andy was in 8th. He's in 6th in class. So you Andy Purrs fans, don't worry. He's still out there having a good run. Just having to fight through a lot of Nissan traffic right now as Rob Olenek comes up on him.
That Toyota wants to sneak it in there. That's not a good place. And he apologizes to Andy. Actually, I think he called him Hideki.
He did. Gruber had trouble just up in front. Gruber is off pace. Oh, Andy Purrs looking for a little help here. I was rather surprised how he drove through that, Joe. Andy was solid as a rock right there, man.
Yeah, and Rob is usually a very safe driver. That was surprising. And actually, Gruber, he got in trouble. He was tipped off by Ihimaki, so that was 2nd place. So that has gone to Houghton. We might want to get a replay from onboard Ihimaki. Looks like maybe roughly 30 to 40 seconds ago. Might be a little bit farther back, actually. Here we go. Now we've found it. Coming down into the S's. Similar situation here, Sean. Just thought he could squeeze it in there. And lo and behold, that door shut. That lost him positions. We're going to watch on board Gruber. Unless he was really watching his mirrors, this must have come as a severe surprise.
Definitely looks like he gets caught out there for sure.
Oh, and Keith Ritchie, what's happened to him?
Oh, boy.
He just took a tow. Let's see if we can get a replay.
Oh,
this was all on his own, basically, coming into turn 3.
It was, and he gets caught out with turn 3 and slides all the way off out to the concrete. Oh boy.
Hard slam. We're going to watch on board. He was offline, admittedly, with traffic, but that hasn't phased Richie before. I want to say this is really the first time we've seen a driver error from Richie all season long. Once that thing just started to go, there was no regaining composure.
Yeah, well, you know, I made the comment early on, Joe, about how much time he's got invested here at Road Atlanta. Awful surprising to see him make that mistake. His least favorite part of the track. I know that from watching his lap guide.
As we watch Michael Houghton, how wide are his eyes right now? He was slipping down into third. Next thing he knows, suddenly second place falls away from him. Then first place falls away. And now he's leading. Iamaki has got to be kicking himself, knowing that he could have been in that position. He's a whole 7.5 seconds back. Olenek with his problems. He's not close either, still about 1.5 seconds behind Iamaki.
So, I'm sorry, Ruscola now trying to overtake Johnny Hagner. He does it here as the Nissans are coming through.
Ooh, things are going to get
fighting
tense.
back.
3 wide down the backstretch. They both manage it, but they've got Clayton McLeod coming through, and Hagner comes to the racing line. As they weave across, McLeod might have to wait patiently behind these guys. Side by side for the lead, and the GTOs through the chicane barely leaves them enough room as Ruscola is brave around the outside to nearly shut the door. Clayton still having to wait, and look at poor Strodbeck being held up by traffic. Murtul Shaheen finally coming through. And a pass to the inside down into turn 1. Here comes Hagner.
Okay, so I'm going back to crew chief mode, and if I'm on the box right now talking to Brian, I'm Strodbeck, I'm telling him, hey man, just let these guys get through. Don't worry, those two are going to take care of themselves up there.
Oh, wow. Murtul tried to stick his nose in down into 4, but it just did not work. Ruscola was not having any of it. And I actually saw Strodbeck behind him go defensive down into turn 3, trying to keep John Keefe from sticking his nose in there. Look at them streaming through now. Playing havoc with this battle for the lead. And poor Ruscola has come out the worst as Hagner has stretched it to over 1 second now.
Yep, that's a shame. That really cost him.
Danger Kitty machine living up to the first part of its name. Hagner, in the meantime, still has traffic trying to come through. John Keefe slips by. Look at the mess that is going on here.
We knew it was going to be difficult. I didn't know it was going to be this difficult, Joe. It's crazy. The closing rate of the Nissan to the Audi here at Road Atlanta. Insane now. Look at Strodbeck starting to get the run. Looks to the inside of Ruscola.
Strodbeck making a brave move. They're side by side. Almost gets pushed off the track as Ruscola tries to swing it around to get the widest line down into turn 3. But just like that, after Hagner had pulled a gap of 1.5, it is back down to 0.2. Half the race is gone now. And the battle is still going here at the front of the GTOs.
Methinks Brian Strodbeck's not going to be happy with that move. And he's going to remember that. We'll see.
Oh, will the firemen get a little bit aggressive here as they come through turn 7, them accordioning together, and now they're going to stretch back apart. It's got to be so frustrating to be so close on the spoiler of the car ahead and then watch them stretch away. But in the meantime, Strodbeck pulling the draft a little bit here on Ruscola. Looks to the inside now as they come down to the chicane. Ruscola goes defensive, or maybe a pass attempt here on the lead. No, not quite. Half of one, half of the other. And whatever the case, he holds on to that second position as they come to complete one more lap.
I think Ruscola's going to get blue paint on that car at some point.
I would not doubt that. Oh, he's taking a peek to the inside of Hagner down into turn 1. Behind them, rocking up, that's Michael Kopak who holds back.
Kopak almost lost it. Oh! Strodbeck having to go on a 4-wheel lock there.
Lost sight of the apex, and unfortunately that cost him some time. Offered a chance for Kopak to sneak through, thankfully. It is frantic.
An exciting Lotus 49 race. Now this. Great day for racing, Joe.
Absolutely. And look at that. That exit really hurt Yoni Hagner with Kopak coming through. Ruscola all over him now. Is he going to be able to get the slipstream down the backstretch? We're not missing anything up at the front of the GTPs. Houghton still leads by nearly 7 seconds over Ihamaki. But let's stay on Ruscola, coming down with a good run, drifting off the Pruitt fade, as it's sometimes called, with Yoni Hagner defending into the chicane, holds him off for now.
You know, these three are having a great race. We've barely talked about Michel de Jong, another real hot shoe. He's languishing back there in fourth, almost 6 seconds. Oh, Strodbeck right there up on the bumper of Ruscola. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place.
He got extremely close down into turn one. He's taken a lot of curb at 3 as well. Got to be careful not to get a cut course, but that did help him as he's closed back up on the Danger Kitty GTO machine. Both of them dropping it back a bit on Yoni Hagner now. Meanwhile, in the midst of this, we are missing a little bit of a battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th in the GTPs, but we'll keep an eye on that and go to that if it starts to erupt. Here we see a little bit of a glance. That's Myrtle Shaheen in 6th, trying to hold off Fabian Jungbluth. Meanwhile, battle for 2nd of the GTOs.
Strodbeck looking to do it here. Doesn't have the position, though, unfortunately.
Can he hold on around the outside to take the apex of the second part? He's going to try. Get squeezed. They come together. Ruscola drifts off to the track and comes to a halt. Watch on board Strodbeck. I don't know, Sean. Did he have the apex?
It certainly looked like he had it to me. But, listen, they have been battling this way. Boy.
He was well far inside.
Yeah, and it barely made contact. I mean, barely. That was just hardly any at all. And, well, you could tell by the fact that Ruscola was actually almost able to save it. There was a tipping point there, and, yeah, he wasn't able to reel it back in. All right, so he's going to lose positions, obviously, due to that, but only back to 4th. Michel de Jong, for his effort, gets up to 3rd.
All right, let's go through our top 5 in each class very quickly. Michael Houghton is your leader into the GTPs. After mistakes from both cars ahead handed over to him, Ardo Ihamaki has been trying to give chase, but can't quite run him down, sitting in 2nd. Rob Olenek, despite problems a little bit earlier on with traffic, is still holding down the podium. Clayton McLeod behind him, not too far back, in 4th. And then John Keefe, with a good run today, started in 14th, and he is up to the top 5. What about the GTOs?
All right, well, here's what we know. Yoni Hagner still in command of the race. Brian Strodbeck now just 2.3 seconds back, chasing. From 2nd, Michel de Jong is up to 3rd. Good run so far from him. Not making any ground here on these two up front, though. Miko Ruscola, we saw he just had a great fight there with Strodbeck. Comes out on the short end, unfortunately, there in the chicane, in the exit of the chicane. He's going to fall to 4th right now. George Gruber sitting in 5th, having a solid run. Andy Purrs a little bit further back, couple seconds back there in 6th. Ove Trengerade in 7th. Just seems to have gotten off to a rough start here, and he's not able to do anything at this point. But Ross Goodacre in 8th. Brian Shanahan in 9th. Go back to David Browning in 10th. Matthias Jensen sitting in 11th currently. And in 12th, Oscar Helm. Now that we've got a few retirements there.
Yeah, a number of retirements. While we've got a chance, though, I'd love to get some screen time, some other folks that we haven't really seen a whole lot of. Myrtle Shaheen sitting in 6th. We took a glance earlier. Jungblut has been hounding him for that position as we ride on board with the 007 shot, looking back from Shaheen.
Love that shot, Joe.
Oh, that's one of the most clever
Yeah.
things I've seen Dougie do with these onboards. Look at him close in now as they actually get up to John Keefe here as well, sitting in that 5th spot that we talked about. They keep closing and losing according to traffic here between these 3. Maybe we could have a 3-car fight for the top 5. Here comes Andy Purrs up ahead of them, and John Keefe, you can see, catches him at a horrible time, squeezes through just barely, and Andy Purrs is going to get in the back of him, turns him around,
Oh boy.
and he slams into the wall. We're going to watch it one more time. You can see him weaving on the exit of 1 here, just trying to figure out which way to take him. Almost dips into the grass, and the same thing Shaheen does. Shaheen waits patiently behind, but on the exit off, because he got onto that curb, it looked like he just couldn't get to the power, Sean.
Yeah, boy. Andy's having a rough race, isn't he, Joe?
It certainly is.
Man, hard to call it there for him. I hate that he's had so much trouble here today.
I don't know. I can't put much blame on Andy for that one. He just, the car ahead lost traction. He didn't have much space to react, and when the momentum of these cars is going, it's hard to slow him down.
It is the Nissan, or I'm sorry, the Audi more so than the Nissan, Joe. It just seems to, it needs a little bit of braking effort to get to that point. Boy, that's just a shame. Again, I hate to see Andy get in that trouble again.
John Keefe, what was looking like a great run, 14th all the way up to 5th, and now, did he actually, oh, he's still going, it looks like. So he continues in 7th. He only loses 2 positions, still a very good gain, and his car seems to not be too horribly damaged, although as I say that, missing a rear wing.
Yeah, that's going to hurt your downforce just a little bit, Joe.
Shaheen gets promoted to 5th, Jungbluth up to 6th with that incident. Does take away one of the closest fights on track that we had. Farther up, how about Clayton McLeod, who's starting to gain time on Olenek? It's now a 2nd between these 2 for the final podium position. They're going by Strodbeck, currently holding 2nd in the GTOs.
Yeah, and Strodbeck, you talked about getting by him. He's really starting to struggle now. Hagner has opened it up to almost 5 seconds here.
He might
order Clayton McLeod getting a good run here up the hill.
I was going to say, he might lose some of this because Hagner now has a stream of GTPs coming through. First up is Christopher. Then it's going to be Olenek, who is fighting for position, mind you. And look at this. Clayton has caught him now. Down the backstretch they go. Is Clayton going to be able to use the slipstream? Looks like they're going to be able to get by Hagner, who's actually being held up by a GTP car. He has to swing out past Stouffer here. And wow, late on the brakes for McLeod with an attempted pass, gets it onto the grass, comes back on, but it doesn't go as Rob Olenek holds onto that 3rd place, but Clayton is hungry. And 5th almost changed positions as well as Jungbluth made an attempt on Shaheen. Jungbluth trying one more time down into turn 1. Shaheen has none out of it. Leaves some room at the apex, but looks like Jungbluth isn't able to take advantage now as they swing through turn 3.
Yeah, Shaheen got him in the chicane last time, Joe, down there at the bottom of the hill. Holds on to it now, but Jungbluth really...
Iamaki, what happened to him?
Boy, I'm not sure, Joe. The car... Oh, he missed the shift. Popped the motor. Joe.
What a disappointing race for the Finn. You can see just swings it off track to keep it out of everybody's way. Disappointment after he was looking at a potential win. So Iamaki not going to finish here today. That gives even more space to Michael Houghton, who has Olenek promoted to second. Clayton McLeod now is not just fighting for a third position, but a second place as he continues to try and hound Olenek. Up at the front of the GTOs, Hagner holds that 4-second lead over Strodbeck.
Well, Joe, you alluded to it before, that the traffic getting through does help Strodbeck a little bit every time it passes. And he's going to see that a few more times here before this race is over, but we're running out of time, and I think things are looking tough for Brian right now.
Ruscola's on a recovery drive, though. He's already run down Michel de Jong, and he's within a second. More traffic is going to come through soon. That could give him an opportunity. Oh, and fourth place in the prototypes up for grabs. The Shaheen has a run on Jungbluth. Down into the chicane. He's got a nose ahead, but he's on the outside. He's going to have to be brave on the brakes. Jungbluth is braver. Takes away the apex, but he swings wide. Can he get the run off the corner? It's going to go to Kopak, or Shaheen rather, I'm sorry. Shaheen's got the inside coming around the final corner. The momentum once again starts to go to Jungbluth as now they're coming up to traffic. Matthias Jensen, and is he going to play a part in this? Shaheen gets held up. Oh, almost swings into Jungbluth. Barely avoids him. Takes it off track, comes back on, but that battle is now over.
Oh, trouble with Ruscola at the bottom of the hill. Michel de Jong. Oh, Ruscola makes a little contact coming down the hill. Kind of moves Michel de Jong out of the way and takes that spot back. Watch this, Joe, coming down to the chicane here.
Wow. What a save from de Jong, though. My goodness. Sounds like John Keefe was in some trouble as well. We've come back live. So much action starting to happen. Chris Barnes, in the meantime, looks like he has actually exited this race after he hit the wall and his engine died. That was into turn one. Don't need to go back to that. Boy, it is a little all over the place today here, Sean.
Joe, it really is, man. This has just been head on a swivel. Watch out, look over your shoulder, keep your eyes on your mirror type of race.
And speaking of which, let's go to Olenek because Clayton McLeod has a run on him for second down into turn 6. Olenek does not defend. That looks like survival instinct taking over for Rob as he lets him through, or is he maybe going to try and draft him, the New Englander? Very close behind. Could this be a savvy move from Rob Olenek? Catches him right away. Look at that. Olenek playing possum, but he's got to be brave on the brakes. And McLeod has no answer through the chicane as Olenek gets it back right away. Michael Houghton with 2 laps to go now. He's got 11 seconds over Olenek, who is currently battling, so those two are not likely to gain time on him quickly. Joni Hagner has a 7.5 second lead over Strodbeck right now. Unless traffic plays a major part, it is not likely he'll be caught, but Olenek struggling to get up the hill. This is our closest battle in the top of either class as Clayton McLeod closes in behind. They got the traffic of Andy Pears. Oh no, poor Andy. Once again in the thick of it. He immediately pulls over, sees what's coming, and lets these two through.
It's like Andy almost made like an evasive move to get out of the way.
Absolutely. Oh, he's got a run on him. Clayton McLeod looking to the outside. Can he finally get around? Olenek a little bit behind, not as good on the brakes, down into the chicane. He's got the inside apex for the second part, but look at the momentum swing back to Olenek. Still holds on. Oh no! Into the wall goes Clayton McLeod. Is this third place gone? Fabian Jungbluth, oh, he swings back onto the track, is narrowly avoided by Ove Trangarade, who manages to keep the car from hitting the wall. White flag is out. Jungbluth is now catching McLeod. Jungbluth is looking at a podium. And he is in the podium now as he gets by McLeod. How the worm has turned number of times here at Road Atlanta. Who would have thought when Keith Ritchie took the pole by a 2/10 gap, and as he streaked away, that this thing would have turned out like this. Michael Houghton coming down to the chicane. This guy has been solid. He may have lucked into this first place, but he has earned this win. He's kept this car pointed forward, and as he comes to the line, P1 is going to go to Michael Houghton.
Well, Joe, that's going to leave things here in the GTO class still going as our leader, Joni Hagner, still making his way around. One more time.
Olenek does get second place after that fierce fight. And how about Fabian Jungbluth? A great run to the final podium spot. Now we can get to Joni Hagner coming down the backstretch, looking like he is going to win this GTO race. We wondered with Ruskola, Strodbeck, and Hagner together, which of the three Titans was going to come out on top, and solidly today. It is Hagner, helped along by quite a bit of battling between Brian and Miko. Regardless, the Finn is going to come home to take the win in the GTO field here at Road Atlanta. All right, let's take a look at the replay of McLeod's spin. What an unfortunate end to this one. In fact, I don't think he even finished in fourth. Looks like he was in fifth in the end. So here into the chicane, you can see just squeezed down at the apex. Couldn't get the power down, was trying desperately, and the car got light over the crest, it looks like.
Yeah, you know what, Joe? You just said it got light over the crest. And when it does, man, if you're not in the right spot with the throttle there, you know what happens. You'll spin them just a little bit. You'll spin the tire a little bit, and it'll kick the car out like that. What a tough break for Clayton, man.
And here's Fabian Jungbluth after we watch this onboard of him taking third. Let's get an onboard of Ove Trangarade. Poor guy was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. I guess he could argue that Clayton maybe should have locked his brakes up a little bit better here. You're going to see from his onboard over the crest, which is blind, and then suddenly there's a car. Great evasive maneuver.
Indeed, yeah.
Whew, all right, with that, once again, we needed to catch our breath here, Sean. So we're going to go to break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, we'll have all the upcoming races on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. 2 races today here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Both of them were stunners. And man, this was one of my favorites, I think, for the season here in the Kamel GT series. Really gave us, I think, a feel-good winner here in the South as Michael Houghton came away with the win. Rob Olenek finished in second behind him, had to fend off a late race charge from Clayton McLeod, but McLeod spun, lost a number of positions. Fabian Jungbluth managed to get by him on the final lap to take the last of the podium spots. Murtul Shaheen gets promoted up to 4th as McLeod struggled to get home, and McLeod finally rounding out our top 5. That's going to be disappointing. John Hill finished in 6th, having started 8th. Nice gain from him, with John Keefe as well. Even better, starting 14th, could have been so much more, but 7th is still a really good run from the Indiana driver. Michael Kopak finished in the 8th position with Alberto Moreno Tejada in 9th. Dave Peterson in 10th. Drivers, we didn't really get to see a whole lot of. Peterson was a lap down. Chris Stouffer, how about this guy starting in the last of the Nissans, basically, and finishing in 11th, 1 lap down. And that takes us to the Audi. Sean?
Yes, it does. Joni Hagner, the big winner, the Finn. I don't know if he made it look easy, but he certainly made it look fun and fast. Brian Strodbeck, he had a great race, but just never seemed to have the pace to catch Hagner. Had a great battle, though, those 3. The third, Miko Ruscola, he's going to finish 3rd. Now, the 3 of them, Hagner, Strodbeck, and Ruscola, really brought the fun early on. Michel De Jong, who has kind of a rough start to the race, actually brings it home in 4th after digging there late. George Gruber going to finish 5th. Andy Purrs 6th in class. Brian Shanahan 7th. Ross Goodacre 8th. Matthias Jensen 9th. Ove Trengrade, man, things just didn't work out for him today. He's going to finish 10th. David Browning in 11th. Oscar Helm 12th. Hideki Koivitso 13th. Chris Barnes 14th. Ben Lafter 15th. And Andrew Backey 16th. He never really got started, guys.
That is our field. Oakley and Mushan did not start. With that, let's go to our interviews. First up, let's talk to Michael Houghton, who sounded very happy about that win when it was all said and done. Michael, were you at least a little bit surprised at being in 3rd, and then suddenly next time you look, you're in P1?
Yeah, that caught me as a surprise. Keith has never been, he hasn't been beaten yet, so yeah, that was really weird.
It certainly seemed like it was a case of keeping the car clean and pointed forward. Number of drivers had mistakes or ran into problems, were battling one another. Was that your focus this race, or were you pushing the whole way?
Well, before the race started, Ben and I were usually on the same channel. I promised myself and I promised him I'm not going to overtake anybody down the S's, and I think that worked for me. I didn't get into any accidents. Took my time. I kept pushing, but I took my time, and yeah, that got me the result.
Now, is this your first win in the Kamel GT series overall? I'm pretty sure it's your first win here on air.
It's my first win overall. I've only done about 6 races.
And apparently we've got someone named Brett in the chat. You've got a fan. He says he's a huge Commodore fan, and he loves your paint scheme.
Hey, Brett. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Well, again, awesome run today. We enjoyed watching you run this one to the win. And are we going to see you next season?
Definitely. I will be back in force.
All right, that is Michael Houghton, who takes a win here in Kamel GT and official racing here on iRacing. Now, Sean, it sounds like you've got our winner over in the GTOs as well.
I do. Joni Hagner, congratulations. What a run today, man. I said you didn't really make it look easy. I don't think anything about this race was easy, but I don't know if it was ever really in question for you. How'd you feel out there?
Well, I have fun.
Tell us, what's the toughest part of this track for you?
Well, today it was qualifying because there was a Mikko driving, and I know that in practice we were very close to each other in pace, and then I screwed up the qualifying, but managed to win the race.
We got a great start, and that certainly helped you stay out of trouble. The Nissans coming through, that was a bit of a challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, the traffic is always a challenge, and there is good Nissan drivers and bad Nissan drivers also. So sometimes even you gain time by Nissan's passing, you get a good draft and such, but sometimes you lose a lot of time when they are coming like wrong time or hesitating to pass you somewhere, and it's fun.
Well, it was fun watching you. One more question for you, Johnny. Do you have any more races scheduled today? Any more for you?
Not today.
Not today. All right, buddy. Well, go on and enjoy your evening. Thanks a lot, and again, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Joe, that was Joni Hagner, and I believe you have now caught up with Rob Olenek.
Absolutely, as our director tries to type his last name in. Rob, that fight with Clayton was a thriller at the end. You came out on top. It seemed like you made a very savvy move, and I don't know if this was intentional, but you let him by into turn 6 and then drafted past on the back straight. Did you mean to let that happen, or was that an happy accident?
I sort of did mean to let that happen. At the same time, I was in a fight to try and get second place overall in the VCR from Ardo, and I really just wanted to stay away from Clayton, so I kind of just... I wanted to avoid any kind of accident between us. The other thing I wanted to just say is I wanted to just thank everybody else that's, been part of this Kamel GT Championship, who's contributed to paying for these broadcasts, and just to make Kamel great. And I'm really happy with what you guys are doing with the broadcast. I think you guys do an awesome job.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, we heard a lot of talk between drivers and saw a lot of debate in the chat about the Audis and the Nissans trying to go side by side through the S's. What was your take on any attempts at that? Were you kind of the mind to keep out of it, or did you try and stick the nose in there to keep from losing time?
I think if you're really close coming into the chicane at the top of the hill, you can get around the first part there, but once you enter the tight part of the S's, no way. I just follow.
Is there anything that you think that can help prepare the interclass traffic for next season? Has this informed you guys in some learning and trying to help educate both classes for next season? Like any tips or advice that you think come from this season?
Keith Ritchie actually makes some videos that are up on the forums that are traffic guides. Those help a lot. And then besides that, it's just getting out there and racing. And mostly, I'm a Nissan driver primarily. If the Audi basically drives his line for the most part, there's times when we got to share the track. But if he basically is predictable and drives his line and let the Nissan figure out how to get by, I think that's the safest way.
Sounds like good advice to me. One more before I let you go. That battle came down to coming up to the white flag, and poor Clayton spun off to the inside. Were you relieved and happy to be able to run to the end on your own, or would you have wanted to see that fight go all the way to the checkers?
I can't lie. I was relieved. I feel really bad that happened to Clayton, but at the same time, I was very relieved.
I can understand. All right. Congratulations on the second place today, Rob.
Thanks. See you guys later.
That was Rob Olenek, comes in P2. And then up next, I believe we have Michelle de Jong with Sean.
We do. Michelle, what a race. Talk to us about what unfolded there in the closing laps with Mikko Ruskola.
Hi, guys. Yeah, that was a bit fun there. I think it was a bit of a netcode contact, actually. I didn't get a 4X or anything, so I just...
Yeah,
I tried to save it.
I said that when we were looking at it on the replay. It barely looked like any contact at all, but it must have been a netcode. I unfortunately don't have the replay to look at now, but listen, you made an incredible save, and you still wind up with a 4th place. What an exciting race this was today, though.
Oh, I'm happy about fourth. You know, I mean, the three guys out front, I knew they were faster than me, so I figured I'd just try to stay constant and maybe get lucky in traffic or something. But I just made way too many mistakes myself, so I'm just happy with fourth. It's probably where I should be.
Hey man, there's nothing wrong with making that decision at some point during a race and saying, you know what, I just want to be the best of the rest. So
exactly,
good
yes.
job there, man. Well,
thanks for all the broadcasts during the season. It's been very enjoyable.
Yeah, it has, and boy, I'll tell you what, it's been enjoyable watching you guys. Thanks, Michelle, for putting on a great show today.
All right, thank you guys. See you around.
All right.
That was Michel de Jong, finishes in fourth in his class, and it looks like, unfortunately, with some really good interviews, we've run out of time because we've got another broadcast coming up here very soon, so we've got to close up. And we have another season we expect here, so we look forward to seeing all these drivers back here in the Kamel GT series. In the meantime, a huge thanks to the Kamel GT community for coming together and getting funding up for these broadcasts. We love getting to put these guys on air. And also thanks to Rob Olenek and Andrew Backey for helping with Run the VCR behind the scenes and getting these guys organized and together. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race is going to be at Le Mans. That will definitely be another draft fest with these cars. That'll be September 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.